Happy Fermentation Friday, everyone. I'm super excited about the ferment that I'm doing this week because I've been waiting very impatiently to test one that I made multiple weeks earlier. This is one of my Christmas treats. What I made here is a Quince Liqueur, and this one I did with a gin base, but I also want to make one with a vodka base, just to make it a little bit truer to the quince flavor. And when my grandpa gave me all the quince, I promised him that when he came up for Christmas that I was gonna have Quince Liqueur for us to have a little sip of. So I made sure to get the one started on time. But now, only a few weeks left, I have to get this one going because I'm gonna drink this one over Christmas, and then I need to have a second one ready for in January because it's gonna be so good that I'm gonna wanna drink it all the time. So that's what we're gonna be making today. This is kind of like Serena pretends she can make alcohol series because we're gonna be using actual alcohol in the recipe. This isn't gonna be us, making quince wine and then pulling out the still and, boiling it down to a true liqueur. This is gonna be, we're making a flavored alcohol with time and, with a little bit of magic. So as you may know, I'm obsessed with quince, so obviously quince is one that I'm very excited to make this out of. But to do a liqueur like this, you can use any fruit that you like, and then you just make sure to add vodka or whatever alcohol it is that you like, and a bunch of sugar, and then you just kind of let it sit. And they need kind of like 6 weeks minimum. But the longer they sit, the better. Like to a limit. Like they'd be better sitting for 3 months. After that, you're probably gonna want to strain any sort of fruit out, or else it's gonna start to, potentially lead to leaving it open to getting some, mold or something in there, which you definitely don't want because it's gonna be so delicious. You want to use raw fruit. This isn't a recipe for if you have some applesauce to then add in. You want to be working with the raw fruit, or else it's not gonna work in exactly the same way. For me personally, the sugar is really important for it to become that, liqueur type drink. The sugars are really gonna help bring out the flavors of the quince for when we do this. But in the spring, I did make a spruce tip gin, and I didn't add any extra sugar to that. Was just gin, spruce tips, and that was really delicious too. But I'm not drinking that straight. That's for my super special gin and tonics. Whereas this, I'm thinking, like with the sugar and the fruit watering down the vodka, when this is probably all said and done, this isn't gonna be crazy strong, and it should have a nice flavor for, having a little sip. After I get my new one made up, I have my spoon so I can taste this one and see how it's coming along, see if it's actually getting close to being able to be ready for me. Ooh, Christmas is coming. I know I said this before in another video about quince, but in case you didn't get the tips, be very careful when cutting quince. These are very, very hard and very dangerous. Use a very sharp knife and do this very carefully. Oh. So that the flavor is going to impart into the quince quickly, you want to chop it, into some pretty small pieces. That's really gonna help this come along. When looking at recipes for doing this online, they also talked about grating it, but with my quince at least, that would be, a good way to lose the skin on your knuckles permanently. So I'm going for finely chopped. Yeah, so basically just chop it finely and fill the jar about half full of your fruit, and then you are gonna wanna add some sugar and some alcohol. I don't think I said it before, so I'll say it now. You want to use the best fruit you can get your hands on. A lot of these quince that I have are a little bit bruised, and that's not ideal. It'd be better to be using fruit that isn't bruised at all. And with the quince, like, smell them. You want the ones that are gonna be the most fragrant, because that means they're gonna have the most flavor. And I know I said half full, but I put more in because I want it to taste good. So this is a liter or a quart jar, and I am gonna put in about a cup of sugar. Feels like a lot. But I can always water it down. Or we can have it, you know, on sparkling water. And then you want to fill the jar up with your alcohol. I need a lot more. I'm gonna go get that, but fill it up with alcohol, put a lid on, give it a shake, give it a good stir, and then you just kind of let it sit and you wait. Okay, so I have it filled up and shaken to stir in all that sugar, and now you just basically wait. With this one, for the first week or two, I tried to shake it every day. And another thing too about this lid on it, this isn't a completely unactive, just soaking thing going on here. This one has built up like little bits of gas inside of it. So if these aren't the best to use a jar like this, you're better off to use like a crock or something that has a proper airlock vent to it. I've just been, you know, like cracking the lid on it to let it release any gas that's building up, and that's part of the reason why this has kind of been out on my table instead of down in storage. If this was like with the proper airlock on it, I'd just put this into my cold storage and kind of forget about it. I know I'm using mason jars here, but just be careful, you don't want anything exploding on you. So now I basically just wait. You can see on this one how the fruit is kind of sitting down, where on here it's floated up, and it is sitting a little bit up above. You know, as time went on and the fruit kind of broke down a little bit, and any air that's making it float kind of was released, this stuff did sink down. So that is kind of some of the difference that you're seeing on this one for having just been made and having sat for a while. I know this is super simple, and it also feels, for me at least, a little bit like, well, that's like you're just kind of taking a bunch of alcohol, which is expensive, and, you know, putting it into something that, you know, maybe is at a high risk. But I can tell you from the spruce gin that I did in the spring, it's worth the risk. It's worth it's worth the investment. If you're gonna be doing something nice with the alcohol that is gonna be flavored out of it, you're definitely gonna appreciate how unique and special what you're making is. And now the reason why I made this video, so I can taste this one, give it the taste test, and see how delicious it is. Ooh. It smells really good. It smells like a super strong, rich quince flavor. Use a clean spoon, don't contaminate your, don't literally be taking swigs out of it. That's really tasty. Tastes super strong, like quince, like what you'd want in a liqueur. It's a really good balance of sweet and dry. This one is with a gin, and so it still has those botanical kind of gin flavors to it, which goes really nicely with the quince. like I could have a little liqueur glass of this just on its own, you know, and this is it, not even chilled. I'd probably serve this at room temperature because it is nice just as is. So it will be a good Christmas after all. That's really good. Okay, I have to save it. So, Cheater's liqueurs, you know, this one's a Quince one, and it's really good. I'm not a huge drinker, and when I do drink, I like to drink cocktails. So stuff like this is, you know, something that I get really excited about. And, you know, there's only so many kind of, you know, food ways to preserve up a lot of this fruit. You know, it's like the quince, there's only so many jars of jam or jelly that I need out of it. But to make up a liqueur like this is a pretty amazing way to save up the flavor into a new, you know, slightly more adult way. One of the things that has me really excited about learning about all these ferments is the kind of recipes that it opens up for me in the coming season. You know, the more I try these different ideas that I wouldn't normally work with, the more gets like the wheels turning for things that I can do differently with the produce and the fruit that we produce out in the yard. So I'm pretty excited for spring. I doubt that these two, with the holiday season and them being so delicious, are gonna last me till then, but I am looking forward to rhubarb to be back because I think that's gonna be another, you know, really delicious item that could get turned into a liqueur like this. So I know it's super simple, you know, and it barely passes for fermenting, but I'm excited about this fermentation Friday at least. Have you guys tried doing anything like this? Any of these liqueur type drinks? I know I do want to start looking into some winemaking in the new year. That's on the gift list for Ian. Ian, buy me wine gear. I want to make fruit wine. But yeah, give me some willpower to not drink this all before next week, and I'll see you then.